All right. There we are. All right, we're getting folks in. There we are. Get on. Make sure, oh, there's Daphne. I was going to say, make sure she has the right link. Yeah, watching that PowerPoint karaoke just made me, I'm like, oh, the LOLs, the laughing out loud and the peoples.
Daphne's still muted.
I think you muted Daphne.
Muted.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Holy
There
cow.
you
I
go.
was having a full convo and I swore I wasn't unmuted. Hey Tina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. And Becky and Mandy, I don't see everyone else's faces, but hey, oh, Cheryl, I see you.
I'm here.
Yeah, I had to put my little guys on the side. That's why I was moving. I was like, hold up. I see yours too, Becky.
I need to move mine. It's next to my...
I know, that's where mine was. And I was like, oh my God, no one could see it. Even now, I'm like, okay, this
There we go.
hair is like
That works.
not in the middle. Oh, see? You have the
Right.
one with the sunglasses. I don't have that one yet.
You're
That
getting
one's
it.
brand new.
You're getting it. It's supposed to be there today. I think you're not getting it until tomorrow, but
That's all right. I'll still take a photo
I
with
have
it.
to put mine over there by my obligatory background plant.
Yes, you see, I have my obligatory plant too. And it's not,
Right?
everyone does. Okay, whose is real? Because mine is not real.
Mine is real.
Dang it. I can't figure out what can actually grow in this lighting. So I actually posted a pic. That one can? What is that? Becky, I can't hear you.
Becky, you're muted.
Okay, I'm double muted because, you know.
Oh.
Anyway, I stole that plant from my husband. It's an airplane plant, and like it just like multiplies and multiplies. And so there's like dozens of them. All and they're out on the porch, and I'm like, ooh, that one's in a pretty pot. I'm stealing it. So there we go.
Because you and Mandy
that
look
one's-
like both of you have some that just kind of come out. I like that.
That one's a peace lily, and they're hard to kill as long as you water them.
Peace.
And they'll tell you
that's
they
what
get
I
very
need in my
sad. They get
life.
sad.
Did
Like, if
everyone
they're
just
sick, you
write
don't
that
water
name
them.
down?
Yes, peace lily. But they
I'm writing that
grow.
one down. Yeah.
Office light is fine. They don't even need real light. They just
Oh, that's handy.
fluorescent is fine. And if you don't water it often enough, it goes, I'm tired now. And it tells you I'm about to die. So you give it a glass of water, and a couple hours later, it's like, I'm good.
Are
So,
you
you know.
see, I need that in my
Yeah.
life. That's
That
what I
one's
need.
been there. I think I've had that one 6 years. So like I have not repotted it. I've not moved it around. It just hangs out back there by the window. And once a week, I'm like, oh, wait, water. And then it's good.
See, but then that's the other thing that I heard about plants. And I've noticed this myself. If you move them, they don't get happy. They're not happy. They get very comfortable in their little zone. So even if you feel like moving your furniture around, you don't move the plant because the plant is not happy.
The plant stays where the plant stays.
Yeah. Well, this one stays, and every time I do live streams, people are like, oh my God, your plant is so healthy. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
Your secret is safe with
Tomorrow my
us.
background will be cuter and I'll have my itty bitty succulent.
Oh, I kill succulents too. So, and I'm trying, like, I have such a great green thumb, except for succulents. No matter what I do, those bad boys, I have one that's like growing like crazy. And I know it needs to be repotted, but it's the first time my succulent hasn't died that I'm like, look, you're just going to have to die in this itty bitty thing because if I touch you, you're going to die. And I'm just so excited that you're still alive.
all right, it looks like we've got a pretty good group. The request for admittance is getting kind of slow, so
Okay, awesome.
we can get started whenever you're ready. Would you like to introduce yourself, Daphne?
I can do that. I don't think I have any fancy schmancy stuff I'm going to say and or do, but I'm going to move my screens over real quick
Let me make
because
sure.
I'm going to, I hope I can do this. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm Daphne. Hey guys. My name is Daphne Leblanc. I am the owner of Cafe and Laptop. I do have a slide that I'll say a little bit more about myself, but I want to kind of address some of the questions that I did see pop up in the Whova app. And somebody had said, you know, this is my first time attending Social Media Tulsa. And here's the thing, you guys can see that I have these little things on the side. I attended once and I'm so mad that I found out about it so late because I wish that I had attended every single year. It's a great community. There's a wealth of information. And honestly, if you do not get the answers that you're looking for, because I'm even thinking about the influencer one that I'm about to do. If I tell you how many times I was like, okay, I should add this slide. I should add this slide. I'm like, there's just so much info. Do not feel uncomfortable asking the speakers or even the attendees. They are beyond welcoming. And I know even if there are times that we don't have time to answer, it is in the back of our head. It's like, oh my God, Cheryl, so-and-so got in contact with me and I haven't been able to get in contact with them. I have to answer this. I think this is one of the best conferences, which is why I constantly push Cheryl. I'm like, hey girl, you gonna do it? You gonna do it? You gonna do it? It's a great community, and know that you have everyone who is here, your best intentions in mind. And I haven't been able to find that in a lot of conferences. So there's kind of my intro and a little
Your
bit about
intro
Social
was
Media
a
Tulsa.
plug for us, so doesn't count. So let's talk about, let me talk about Daphne.
Oh,
So, like Daphne said, she has, Daphne lives in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Mhm.
I won't give people your physical address.
Mhm.
And love that mug. And so Daphne first joined us to talk about Facebook Live. Was it 2017 or 18? We were at the Hard Rock, I believe, was the first
yes, I
time
remember.
you joined us. And it was really early on in the Are You Doing Facebook Live phase of social media. And so there was a group of people who had never done one. There were a few people who had done one or two. But during Daphne's session, everybody in the room went live on Facebook. And it turns out I'm friends with a lot of people who were at our conference that year. And so my Facebook feed was just like, so-and-so went live, this person went live. But I think the things that Daphne is really, really good at, the live stuff, she's, you know, we all should be doing more of it and doing more for our own brands as well as for our clients. But Daphne really understands kind of the voice of your brand and how to get those messages across. So I'm so excited to have her here talking about influencer programs, because that's the next thing that we are all going to be challenged with.
Yeah, this is actually something that I want everyone to recognize. It doesn't matter how big or small your brand is. Everyone can benefit from influencers, and it all depends on what you call influencers. I have been fortunate enough to work in various industries, and I will tell you, in the medical community, people don't like to use the word influencers, but guess what the medical community calls their influencers? KOLs, key opportunity leaders. So those key opportunities, exactly. I see your face, Becky, but guess what? Those are influencers. If we think about what an influencer is, this is someone who could influence a buying decision for a brand. So even, and I purposely say that because I want you guys to recognize how important it is that you kind of have a group of raving fans. And we could even look at Social Media Tulsa, a group of raving fans. Everyone who attends is like, oh my God, this was great. And it's how do we leverage those group of raving fans? So I'm gonna take a moment just to share my screen. So I'm hoping that I do this correctly. Let's see. I want to do slideshow. Okay. And then I want to share my screen. Screen 2, share. And then I did something, so please don't laugh at me. I did something where I can see my screen, but I cannot see my slides. Don't judge me. I do enjoy tech and I know tech, but somewhere along the line, something happened. There we go.
You're in a
All right,
judgment-free
guys.
zone for this.
I totally appreciate it, guys. All right, so today I really want to talk about using other people's voices, how to build a raving fan base. And when it took me a while to really come up with this name, but what I realized was that influencers, when we have influencers, they're our raving fan base. And what we're doing as marketers or people who are in business or people who work for other businesses, we're really using other people's voices, their words, to sell our product or service. So what if you could, and I want you guys to just finish that sentence. What if you could? What if you could sell 50% more than you did last year? What if you could launch that product or service and actually make some kind of revenue from it? What if you walked into a room and people actually knew the name of the product or service that you sold? Right? I really want you guys to think about that and write it down, because I want you guys to end up using that in the future. So what if you had tons of people talking about your product or service, right? And then next is, what if you had influential people talking about your product or service? And that's actually the difference between influencer marketing and having these people who's your family talk about you. We want people with influence talking about our product or service. So I got to tell you guys a little bit about who I am. I'm the owner of Cafe and Laptop. It's a small boutique digital marketing agency. We're actually in the process of rebranding. So that was one of my questions in one of the sessions today about Facebook groups. I'll be changing the name of the company, but we are still going to be the same old Daphne kind of Cafe and Laptop. I am kind of born a social media trainer, purely accidental is what I tell people. I'm a mom of 3, wife of 1. I have a Morkie that's kind of sitting right under me. Straight team Android girl, actually team Pixel all the way. And I'm really contemplating switching over to like a Samsung if the Pixel 5 is not amazing. And coffee's my kryptonite. That's actually what I have in that mug that Cheryl was talking about. So what I want you guys to do right now, I want you guys to take out a pen and paper, because I'm going to be giving you a lot of information. I really wanted to put a lot of slides in here, and I probably could not give you as much information as I want, but I want to make sure that we have time for questions. All right. So what is an influencer? Anyone, what is an influencer? This is going to be a little bit hard for me because I'm going to be going back and forth with like chat. So Tina, if you don't mind, if you can shout out questions or whatever that come out, you know me, I have no problem being interrupted. I really want you guys to think, what is an influencer? Now, if you don't know, some questions I want you guys to ask first, and these are all questions I'm going to address in this presentation, is have you ever used influencer marketing before? And also, side note, I want to know, have you ever made a buying decision because of an influencer? Really interesting. How do you find influencers? What size or kinds of influencers do you need? How long do you need the influencer? Like, I've seen some influencers just post something today and that's it. Do you have a budget? Because that's always a big question. Do you have a budget? What tools do you need to measure success? And do you have benchmarks already established? And these, to me, those are just kind of typical marketing questions. Why use an influencer? And I'm going to give you these 2 stats because I love stats, and I think stats actually make us, actually kind of solidify and or rationalize some of our decisions. So number 1, 92% of consumers actually trust influencer marketing over traditional marketing. And here's the thing. If I'm going to go buy a pair of sneakers, I'm going to buy Skechers, and I go into the Skechers store, and everyone in the Skechers store is telling me how great the Skechers sneaker is, right? Here's what's going to happen. I might not totally believe that Sketcher person. Why? Because they work for the company. That's their job. Their job is to sell me. But I will go on Google and I'll look to see if anyone wrote a recommendation. And then while I'm there, like we all do, we grab our telephones and we end up going on Facebook or Instagram because we're waiting. And that's just human nature. This is what we do. And as I'm doing this, someone that I follow and I'm connected to talks about the sneakers that they're wearing. And the sneakers they're wearing are Skechers. So suddenly everything that Sketcher employee just said has become validated because an influencer or someone that I know, someone who has influence over my decision, just told me that it's a good product or service. Now, the other thing that is important for you guys to recognize is 42% of marketers are already incorporating this into their marketing strategies. So I say this because it goes back into a few years ago when I talked about Facebook Live. And so many people were like, oh, whatever, I don't really want to do a live. I don't really want to do a live. I'm just going to pre-record. It's going to be fine. And they couldn't understand how come all these people that were doing lives were kind of surpassing them in marketing. And then now so many more people are doing lives, and it's still a great opportunity. So I'm not going to tell you otherwise. But here's what's happening is you're starting to have more and more competition. So when I tell you that 42% of marketers are already incorporating this marketing strategy into their overall business strategies, think about how much competition you have today than you will have next year this time. It becomes harder and harder, and it becomes harder and harder to find an influencer that you really believe in. But when I say why use influencers or what is an influencer, I want you guys to think simply. They can speak to your audience in a way that you as a brand cannot. They have influence over your potential customers. So they not only have influence over your current customers, they have influence over your potential customers. Okay, so I'm going to stop a second just because I want to stop sharing. I want to see if we have any questions in the meantime. No? And Tina, I don't know, did you hear me when I was like, you just feel free to stop and say, Daph, there are questions?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay.
I think Mandy might be in charge of your questions for this
Oh, I'm so
session,
sorry, Tina. I said Tina.
That's fine.
Mandy.
My own questions have been all over all the other sessions. So.
Well, and actually, because I'm looking in the Whova app for those, I'll be glad to call them out when they come in. But
Awesome.
Tina, I think you're an organizer under Whova, you may actually have more access than I do. So if you're in the session, I'm totally fine with you handling questions. I have no ego in that at all.
So honestly, anyone, just because since I'm sharing my screen, I realize I can't see the questions. So if anyone could just scream out or even unmute yourselves if you have questions, that would be awesome.
I think it's great that people are admitting that they've purchased something from it and an influencer.
Oh, people did? Yes, I know I have. The other day I did, and I didn't even question it. And then right at the very end, like literally when I pressed send and I got my receipt, I was like, oh my God, they got me. How did they get me? Like, I do this for a living and they straight up got me. But then it made me think about the process and what is it that they did that got me? So it happens every single day. And sometimes it's unintentional. So I'm going to share my screen again.
As a social media manager,
colors.
I have left comments on ads saying, as a social media manager, good job. This many.
You got me.
And the thing is, it makes you realize, like, holy cow, this validates some of the things that I'm telling people. It really does.
I think I've told just about every one of you that I've had individual comments with that I'm kind of obsessed with YouTube now, and that's just become my thing in COVID. But if I'm looking at a product, it's really easy to head over to YouTube and see if somebody has done an unboxing, a review of that product. And if it's somebody you're already following on YouTube, and that's their expertise and you trust them, I think that's really that's kind of the icing on the cake when you're looking and thinking about influencer programs.
And that's exactly it. Today, I purchased something on Amazon because of a YouTuber. And mind you, this was a YouTuber that I've never even heard of. I went and I was searching. I wanted to connect my monitor to 2 computers. And so I think I did some kind of search that was like best work from home setup or something like that. Because I love my work from home setup, but now I need to connect 2 computers and I really didn't want to buy another monitor. I was like, I don't want to put 2 monitors on here, whatever. So I got into this guy's videos one after the other, and then he started showing me his desk space, and I was like, this is so cool. And he's like, and just to make life easy for you, I put the links to all of the things that I'm talking about. I was like, well, why, thank you, sir. This was great. And I now spent how much money? So we do it. All right. So what's up next? What is the purpose of the partnership? So what I want you guys to notice in this particular slide, and I want you guys to think about this when you guys start your own influencer marketing programs, is I specifically use the word partnership because I've been on both sides of influencer marketing. I was an influencer many moons ago when I was young and had plenty of time to be on social media. And I've been on the other side where I've helped businesses create influencer programs. And what I realize is the ones that work the best are the ones that consider these influencer programs partnerships and not just programs. So, have you ever used influencer marketing before? A lot of this is really going to just be conversational. And I said, let's talk about this. So we already talked about us having purchased something through influencer programs, but has anyone actually set up an influencer program for their business? Just curious. Yes, no, maybe?
Yep.
Yes.
Not for mine personally, but for client businesses, we have.
Perfect. I actually recently set one up, and I'm going to share that one with you guys at the end. I'm going to share some examples. And I recently had to set one up, and it's very interesting about how you have to set up influencer programs. And as the digital space is getting larger and larger, things have become more and or less important to influencers, and we'll talk about that. The next thing is, how do you find influencers? And this one is, I'm always amazed by this because a lot of people get stuck on it. They're like, oh my God, how do I find an influencer? And there are some simple ways. The first thing, to be honest, is search, right? Go in and start searching. The same way that I said, I went on YouTube and I was looking for best ways to set up your home office. Start looking through the things that you want to be found for, or that your clients want to be found for, and see who pops up. See how much content they have around those things, and see how many people are actually engaging and interacting with them. The next thing are some third-party tools. There are a ton of them, and I'm going to show you the one that I normally use, and I will share the name of it as well at the end when I start taking questions. The next one is recommendations. To me, recommendations are probably the best way to find influencers. And the reason why is because when people recommend, that means they know how that person works already. They know maybe what the person is doing, the type of work ethic the person has, how much content they'll pull out, etc. So recommendations are really good. And also with recommendations, what I find is a lot of times we'll recommend people based off of the interaction or what that person has made us do. So you want to work with those. And then the last way to find influencers is through influencer marketing companies. And influencer marketer companies came out, let me see, my daughter's 15. So I would say over 10 years ago, they started, and they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now, and I'll be honest, I think COVID changed a lot of this and made more and more people really flock toward influencers is these companies are now becoming huger and huger. There's going to be a lot more influencers. People are spending more time online. And for example, I don't know if you guys have seen the show on Netflix, I think it's The Social Dilemma. It talks about how people are almost becoming addicted to these social platforms. So people are going on them over and over again. So finding, if you don't have the time to do it, get connected with a company that does it for a living. And so I was going to say something really funny in this section, but since this isn't live and I can't see your faces, it's not as fun. But what I wanted to ask was, does size matter? But since I can't see your faces, we're just going to go, what size or kind of influencers do you need? And there's a whole bunch of different types of influencers out there. And I'm going to give you a broad example. And there's nano influencers, micro influencers, macro, mega, and celebrities. And these numbers, please do not follow these guidelines because there are different places that you can go that will tell you different bits of information. What I want you guys to understand is a lot of times when people talk about influencers, they talk about vanity metrics, which is how many people do they have that is following them. And these numbers can be across all of their channels. It does not necessarily need to be under one channel. It doesn't mean that it says nano is under 5K and that means they could be under 5K in 2 or 3 different social media platforms, not all in one. Next thing is micro. And I want you guys to really think about what it is you need that influencer to do. Now, here's why I say that. When I was working with one client, they were very, very focused on Instagram. And for them, it was imperative that they had a very large presence on Instagram. So for us, at the time, I call those people nano influencers, but they had to have 10,000 influencers. They had to have 10,000 followers. The reason why is because we wanted to make sure that they had a swipe up option. And that option is only available if you have 10,000 followers. So there were little things that you have to figure out what is important to you. Is the size, does size matter or does it not matter? And also, who are you trying to engage with? I had another client, they were located in a itty bitty town in Texas, right? Majority of their people, I mean, they didn't even have a Yelp presence. Why? Because barely anyone really used Yelp in their town. That's how tiny their town was. And honestly, everything in that town happened by word of mouth. So for us, when we were looking for influencers for this company, we were not looking for people who had a huge following. It didn't matter if you had 100 or if you had 1,000. What we wanted to know what kind of influence did you have over that small community. And then when you also think about the kinds of influencers you want, I want you to think about the goals. Right? And you guys, I believe, will get all of this information. So don't go scribble all of this stuff down, but think about brand awareness, product consideration, purchase intent, sales, and loyalty. All of these are important. So you're going to have different types of influencers that do different types of things. And a great example could be right now where there are plenty of companies that are looking for influencers to talk about voting. Right? So right now, many people are looking at voting. So they don't care if you have a small following or a large following. All of this is to build awareness about voting. Go out and vote. So they don't care if you have 100 people or 100,000 people or 1 million people. They just want to make sure that that message is being sent across. Okay, next question in this whole influencer thing is, how long do you need an influencer? And I'm going to stop a second because I don't know if any of you guys are like me, but I tend to have more than one email address, right? I have my work email. I have my personal email. I have the email that I sign up to because I want to see what your funnel is like. I have an email where I get all the junk. So I have all of these different types of emails. And one of the things that I recognized is that I lost you guys is what I did recognize. Give me 1 second. Sorry, I lost you guys somewhere. Not sure where you guys went. There you go. One thing I realized is there are certain people I can't follow at certain times of the year because they're launching. So right now, Jeff Walker is launching. So everyone I know who is an influencer for Jeff Walker is sending me an email about Jeff Walker's launch program. Kill me. I've already gotten about 15 of those. I'm tired of getting Jeff Walker's emails. But guess what? What he does with his influencers is he only needs those influencers this short time. He needs those influencers during launch. So it is important that you understand how long do you need these influencers? Do I need the influencer during launch? Am I something like a Macy's or a Bloomingdale's or Neiman Marcus that needs these influencers the entire time of year? Am I a resort that knows that my downtime is during hurricane season? So the only time I need an influencer is during hurricane season because I really want people to come. Even though it's a hurricane, there are going to be activities that can still happen because hurricane season doesn't mean that it's dead, right? So you really want to think strategically about how long do you need this influencer? I'm going to go back and share my screen with you guys. Screen 2, share. Next is, do you have a budget? Now, this is really interesting because you have to decide, are you going to pay this influencer? Because truth be told, a lot of influencers now, this is their full-time gig. This is what they do for a living. They know I work with these 6 brands and these 6 brands bring me 10K a month, which means if you do not have a budget, it's okay to still reach out to an influencer because maybe they're willing to exchange something else rather than money. Maybe they want your product for free. Maybe they want you to do something else. Maybe they want a percentage of your sales. So you really want to think about, do I have a budget to work with these influencers? Next up is, what tools do you need to measure success? Now, before you can even measure success though, you need to know, what does success look like? Am I trying to make sales? Am I trying to get more people to talk about my brand? Am I trying to get a hashtag trending? What is it that I am trying to do so that at that point, then you can measure success? And then the last thing that I want you guys to think about is setting up benchmarks and task requirements. This is so huge. Those task requirements are so important. And I'm talking about as an influencer and as someone who has set them up. An influencer wants a checklist of what it is that you want them to do. You want me to post on Instagram? How many times do you want me to post on Instagram? You want me to post on Pinterest? What link is it supposed to go to? And how do you track this link? They want all of that information. And then for you, it gives you the ability to track and to set benchmarks, okay? But here's the thing, how do you even start? How do you start with an influencer program? And that is probably one of the hardest things for people. But I want you guys to think it's a 2-step process. Number 1, I want you guys to decide that you're going to go all into this, right? And then number 2 is I want you guys to say, I am going to stick to it, because influencer programs are not as easy as they sound, especially based off of how many people you have that are going to become influencers, what the requirements are, and how are you going to track that the people are doing everything that they're supposed to be doing. And guess what? If you're a solopreneur, how are you managing your own business as well as managing that these influencers are doing what they're supposed to do? So it could be a little bit difficult. Okay, freebie alert. I'm going to be sending this to Cheryl. It is sample contracts and sample deliverables. I recently created some updated contracts for a client that I worked with, so I just had to block out their name, as well as sample deliverables. I actually created a different kind of influencer program this last time around. And this influencer program that I created was a 3-tier influencer program. One was for just brand awareness. So I was looking for people who had under a certain amount of followers. It really was to just make sure that our name was getting out there. The next thing that I did was for someone who had a huge YouTube following, because I wanted to have content that lived in perpetuity. So a lot of times you're going to see people who are like, well, I want an Instagram influencer and I want them to do stories. Here's the thing. If you are paying someone to do stories that expire in 24 hours, but more than likely, if you are not a global brand, that technically only lasts 12 hours. How much are you paying somebody for something that's only lasting 12 hours? And how are you tracking that information? Okay. And then the last one was, this was more of an exclusive partnership. And that means that these people could not go to any of our competitors. And when you do something like that, most of those types of contracts and deliverables require a budget, because again, influencers tend to be doing this for a living. So if you're saying, hey, I want you to be an influencer for Warby Parker, that means you cannot talk about any other eyeglass company. Warby Parker is going to have to pay them, because this is how they make their money. Okay. Now, what things I want you to do, I want you to do the following, okay? Before you are like, nope, I'm gonna cover my face, I'm gonna pretend this woman never talked about influencer partnerships, I'm not gonna do this. I do want you to think about the 5 things that you have to do for your influencer program. By the way, I always have this dog in all of my presentations, so I had to figure out a way to put him back in. Number 1, I want you to think about the why of your influencer program or your influencer partnership. Why do you need this influencer? That to me is key. If you do not know why you need this influencer partnership, there is no need to have it. Figure out if you're going to use measurement tools. What are those measurement tools? Some of these measurement tools can be as simple as Google Analytics. You create some UTM tracking systems in there and you keep it super simple, and you give those influencers their own URL. You can use Bitly. There's so many things you could do. Number 3 is you want to make sure that you have a contract. I want to know, I'll be honest, I know too many influencers that have either been given products or have been given something, and guess what? They do not follow up with the next step, which is the deliverables. So it's imperative that you have those contracts. I've even seen some contracts in place that say we're going to do your kitchen for you, and here are the things that you have to do. Right? Somebody is giving you a free kitchen. I need to become an influencer so I can get a free kitchen, because I got a quote on getting my kitchen remodeled and I almost had a heart attack. Therefore, I'm not doing my kitchen. But if I'm an influencer and someone wants to redo my kitchen for me, and they tell me that I have to do a YouTube video and I have to do this and I have to do that and I have to promote this occasionally, you better believe I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it even more so because in the contract, it says if I do not do said deliverables, I have to pay them back for whatever work was done. Next step is those deliverables. You have to think about what is important for you. What deliverables need to get made, right? And then last but not least is those deadlines. When do you have to get those deadlines done? I've seen too many people have influencer programs and you never told the person, I need this done within the 12 weeks because I'm launching for 12 weeks. So the day before launch or the day before cart closes, they send out that email. That didn't help you at all, any way, shape, or form. So it is important that you have those things set up as well. Okay, so now I'm going to X out of my PowerPoint because I want to share some different screenshots with you guys. Let's figure out if Daphne could be really great and X out of her PowerPoint. Let's see, can she do it? I think she can. All right, I'm out of my PowerPoint and I have some things. I had actually left some things open because I wanted to share them with you. First and foremost, let's see, will I be able to? I wanted to give you guys a quick example of an influencer, right? This is Brandy. I've been following her for a long time. Actually, she was one of the people that I was connected to many moons ago when I used to do influencership. She stayed as an influencer. What you're going to notice on her page is she has over 10,000 followers. In many ways, she is not what you would consider the largest influencer by vanity metrics, right? But outside of vanity metrics, she actually has influence over a ton of different people, as well as other bloggers. So she's a great person to be connected to if you are going to start an influencer program. Now, I'm going to click on this picture because this one was done specifically in partnership with a brand. Do you guys see that? Can someone just say yes, they see it?
Yes, if I squint, it's the paid partnership.
Exactly. Now that paid partnership is super important. And we didn't, again, I told you guys, I wanted to put 25,000 more slides in there, but this is extremely important. If you are a brand and you are working with an influencer, you want to make sure that it says, whenever they post something, it says paid partnership. There are several reasons for this. Number one, if they say paid partnership, you could now go in and see the analytics. Now, how important are analytics for any of us? We all want to see the data. Now, you want to make sure that these people have that on there. The second thing is, and this is something that I didn't get to talk about, is that not only does she have this and she says paid partnership, now this brand can now do an ad based off of this post because she has said they are in paid partnership. So you're also giving the person the ability to do ads based off of this piece of content, which is really beneficial for a brand. And now the other thing, which is safeguarding Brandy, is the fact that because of all of these laws, these rules and regulations, you have to say when you are posting something on behalf of a brand, if you are getting something. And that means in exchange for a free product, a free service, or you are getting monetary funds for whatever it is that you are posting. Even though you're still going to be posting your own thoughts and your opinions, you're still getting paid in some way, shape, or form for that service. All right, so I'm going to X out of this and I'm going to show you this next person. So this is an influencer that I worked with, and I actually worked with her to create this little highlight right here. And the reason we did this was one of my clients who was very focused on Instagram. All they wanted to do is Instagram. So I got to talk to her, and she has Instagram. You can see how many followers she has, but she also has YouTube, and she's really trying really hard to push to YouTube. So here's what I did. I made her contract that she would get this free service that is valued at quite a lot of money. So you guys can go look up Cool Sculpting if you want. And I'm going to pause this. Hold on. I'm going to get out of that. Sorry. I made her, what she did was she got the service. She video recorded the service. She's going to be putting it on her YouTube. I got her to also put it as a highlight. She tags us as a paid partner, so we are able to look at the analytics of it. We provided her with her own discount code. So when she comes into the locations, we can see who is referring people for this particular service. And again, she got a service that's worth well over $3,000 or $4,000. Actually, I think her service is worth closer to $10,000, a service that she got. And she also is getting paid to do this. She's not getting paid a ton of money, but she is getting paid to do this. And all of this is her own opinions. And the reason I decided to keep it as an Instagram thing, because I was really a little bothered. I was like, I got her to do it on YouTube. She may potentially put it on her blog, but that was something that was left in her discretion. I think she will put it on her blog because she wants to drive people to her YouTube channel, and she'll embed the YouTube video. But I got her to do a post every single week. So she's talking about her journey. So I'm just going to click on this and I'll show you little bits of this. But here she did, these are her before and after. These are her photos. She also tags the service provider. She tags the location. And then I'm going to go further in because they had recently changed their name. Hold hold up. I thought that there was a section. Okay, right here, you'll notice right here it says paid partnership with It's a Secret Med Spas. The reason that's important is, again, we could now use that content to promote that service at any time in which we choose, right? We also made her put it as a highlight, so there's lots of different places that people are seeing this content. Okay, I'm gonna X out of this one. I'm gonna give you guys another example. This person posted this up, and one of the ways that you can tell that it is sponsored on Twitter is right here. It says #ad. You have to do this. Again, the minute you are getting paid or in any way, shape, or form to be an influencer or provide influence, you have to definitely show the world that this is a paid advertisement. So this is where she puts #ad. And so that's what you'll find on Twitter a lot of times. Okay. And so she did this, she posted this, and she actually literally recently posted this, and she's already has 673 retweets, 37 quote tweets, and then 482 likes. And she recently posted this. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to stop sharing my screen because I want to take some questions real quick. So does anyone have any questions? Because the next thing that I'm going to show you guys is just a service that I like to use to get people's engagement rate numbers and things like that.
While you're doing that, you know, we have some ambassador programs with a couple of clients that I use. And that, so my first rules, the first time I did it, Alex isn't in here, but she'll know, like I had the rules, like there were just pages of do this and then do that and then do that because of the FTC rules.
Yep. And
I based it on a influencer contract that I got from Verizon a few years ago. And I mean, it was really strict about what type of posts, what kind of verbiage, what hashtags. Now I'm seeing FTC, you can't put the ad, like people would ... and put the #ad or sponsor at the bottom. And you can't do that. You know, that's a no-no. But what do you do if somebody who is an ambassador, an influencer, isn't doing that? Like what do you do if they're just not following the 20-page document that you sent them? Or what do you do if they're not doing the things that are going to protect both you and them?
I am going to be really mean, and I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that they cannot be an influencer because you are protecting them and also yourself. And as a brand, you can get in trouble for it. And what's funny is, you know, FTC is now going after people. They don't even care anymore. That's what I think is amazing. Before, there was a time where they were only going after the big name brands, like they were going after Verizon, right? Now they're going after the little people because, again, like I said, some of these people, this is what they do for a living. And if they are making under a certain amount of money, they're not even claiming it. Or if they are getting a service, they're not claiming that service as payment. So you can get yourself in IRS trouble, girl. I don't mess with the IRS. There's certain people in the world I don't mess with. See, I saw your face, Cheryl. I don't mess with the IRS. So it would be, for me, this is the other thing that I would do with my influencer programs. I would have monthly meetings with the influencers. We actually did a Zoom before people were Zoomed out. I would do a monthly Zoom meeting and I would go over those. And I'm like, does anyone have any problems? Here is how you this is how you tag us to be a branded partner. Now, there are certain times that you can't do it. For example, stories. Once it's more than 24 hours, they can't go back in and edit that story. But there are things that they can edit. And so that for me is really important. And I'll give you 3 chances. Like, what is that? 3 strikes, you're out. But we had this conversation on today. Then we had the conversation 2 weeks after, and then another month later, and you're still not doing it, then it can't go on. And it's the same thing as what your deliverables are going to be with your influencer programs. Like I had one person, I was like, you have to post on your feed and you have to tag us. You have to do, I think it was like you had to do like an Instagram, an IGTV. And honestly, I told them, I was like, I don't even care what your IGTV is. It could be 30 seconds long, but it needs an IGTV with our link. I had this one woman come in for services every single month, 3 months in a row. And then she got upset that I canceled her because I was like, look, every single month, I'm like, hey girl, your story was amazing. No, it wasn't, but I'm just saying this because I need her to follow the directions, right? In our contract, it clearly states you have to do this, this, and this. I didn't see that this month, but I know that you came in for services. Okay, Daphne, you got it. I'll make sure I do that. Next month, hey girl, I see you got your facial. It looks great, but you didn't post anything about it. When do you plan on posting? Again, no service. Finally, I was like, I'm done. Like I can't, because at the same time, it's a business, right? At the